The main issue is that everything to do with the astrophage and with the Taumoeba is made up science. So you are inventing a problem and then you are inventing the solution. And because of that, there's no conflict, right? You're just watching a smart person kind of go through the steps, but you can't follow it along because astrophages and Taumoebas are not real things. You cannot draw on your previous knowledge of science in order to kind of follow along and to anticipate solutions and that sort of thing. And that was different in The Martian, for instance, where there are shortcuts that The Martian takes, and there are a couple of details where it's not realistic, but a lot of the basic science is. And so when Mark Watney talks about things like growing potatoes in Martian soil and talking about how the orbital mechanics means it is physically impossible for the rescue to be there in under 3 years or whatever it is. All of that is real science, and the more about science you know, the more it makes sense. And you can understand the stakes, you can anticipate consequences of actions and of mistakes and of setbacks. And that's where the tension and drama comes from. With the astrophage and with the Taumoeba, it's all made up. So the Taumoeba is a microorganism that occurs in the atmosphere of this planet around Tau Ceti, right? And it eats astrophages by chance, right? So they capture it and then breed it in order to survive in their respective atmospheres at home, so it doesn't just outright die when they open the box, right? All of that is fake. Like none of that is based on it is based on real science a little bit in terms of they say, oh, nitrogen kills it and our atmosphere is like 70% nitrogen and whatever. So it is not completely off in the ether. But the problem and the solution are both constructed. Basically, the author invents both the problem and the solution. And that is why it's a fake conflict. It's a bit like a car chase where the cars go exactly as fast as the writer says they should, and as a result, the outcome is never in doubt, right? It's always exactly going to be what you expect it to be, right? And that is why car chases have to try really hard to be interesting. And I think a science-based plot is similar. If you can control every aspect of it and you're not bound by anything, really, it can be anything. The problem can be anything. The solution can be anything, and that means it is a fireworks display, right? And to me, at least, that undermines the tension in a story. And the way you introduce the tension back in is to add a human element. If the constraints or the properties of the made-up thing have a consequence on what characters or people can do and what the consequences are for those choices, then you have drama again. But that I don't think that happens in this movie is the problem. And so every time they talk about how to make the drive work with the astrophages and everything having to do with analyzing the astrophage, we're just killing time. We're just watching them put on a show, but it's not tied to anything real, and therefore there's no tension, in my opinion.